Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with another episode of my continuing voyages of space, 1999, year 2, episode 36, Catacombs of the Moon, directed by Robert Lynn. He was second unit guy on quite a bit of stuff, but the one that stands out to me is the original Superman 2. Working for Richard Donner back in the day. This dropped or was released November 25th, 1976. John Kenneth Muir, a really superb reference guide to Space 1999, calls this the worst episode of Space 1999. Seeing how I have not really revisited and really have no remembrance much, at least specifically of the episodes in their entirety, especially those past this particular episode, it's hard for me to commit myself to such an endeavor of calling it the worst episode. Now, I will say this, Terpeloff, the writer, was responsible for a few great gems in Space 1999 in year 1. Specifically, I do believe it was Collision Course. Absolutely fantastic episode. And I went back. Now, this is the first time that I've revisited an older episode in year 1 while I am going through year 2, mainly because I know year 2 is not going to stand up to year 1. And whatever positive vibe I find, I really don't want to mess with. But on this case, I really was curious to see what an episode written by Terpeloff looked like in year 1 versus year 2. These two episodes could not be on opposite sides of the coin any more than they are. Collision Course is an absolutely superb episode, one of the best episodes in all of Space 1999, and it's really short, but not too short, 2 seasons. I mean, there are 24 episodes in each year, right? And here we have Terpeloff writing again, but a different director, Robert Lynn. But something, just because, look at in Italian cinema, all the scripts that Dardano Sacchetti, was responsible for writing or being part of. And you go from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. A writer can only do so much. A writer can only pen out a good script, a great script. It's up to the director, it's up to the producers to commit to the writer to bring to life the writer's vision, right? Now, interestingly enough, in IMDb trivia, apparently, now, the story really does involve, basically, the synopsis is, okay, so we have our guest James Laurenson and Pamela Stephenson, who play respectively Patrick and Michelle, husband and wife. Patrick is one of Moonbase Alpha's miners, and hence Catacombs of the Moon. We're going to be down in the catacombs a bit, looking for the mineral Tyranium, because his wife, Michelle, is dying, and Helena is doing everything she can to create a mechanical heart to save her life. In the midst of searching into the deep catacombs of the moon, blowing up as much earth, or not earth, but you know what, I get what I'm saying, much of the tunneling and stuff in search of this, a very, very, very necessary mineral in terms of the support system that is Moonbase Alpha's support system. He has a vision. Patrick has a vision of impending doom that all of Moonbase Alpha is going to engulf in heat and flames. And the only way ultimately to save him and his wife is to hide down deep in the catacombs. Now, Helena is racing to, they're on their 11th, 12th, 13th try or whatever. They can't seem to get it to work properly because they are not allowed to use the mineral Tiranium that they desperately need, because Koenig, who's out on mission, aka filming another episode side by side, we do see him, but he's out there trying to ascertain him, and I don't know where Nick Tate is at all in this episode. Like the previous one, there was no Tony. Tony's back in this one, but now Nick Tate is gone. I'm not sure. Alan Carter, I'm not sure where he is at in this episode. Maybe filming another one, I don't know. But Koenig is out there trying to ascertain what this phenomena is. Where is it? Where is it coming from? Because what begins to coincide is Patrick's visions with the reality that a heat wave is descending slowly but surely on Moonbase Alpha, and the fear is that Patrick might be right, that he has somehow had an apocalyptic vision of sorts, and so that is really what's guiding his character. Koenig is being guided by just trying to find out the truth of this thing. Helena is being guided by trying to create a mechanical heart. Now, I was going to get to this point in IMDb trivia. Helena, or should I say, Helena first bases her, according to the original script, which Terpeloff wrote, bases her original concept, her schematics, on Victor Bergman's mechanical heart that, of course, famously he was known for in the series, right? His character. That was etched out by Freiberger, the producer, who didn't want to have any attachment to old prior names from year one, who are now not part of year two. That begs the question, how much more of the original script was tampered with? If you know anything about studio systems and their ability to interfere with the work of a director and a writer, it's their uncanny ability to screw things up without any mercy at all. And so, if John Kenneth Muir is right, and this is the worst episode of all of Space 1999, it is, and Muir sort of points the finger directly at Terpeloff, who, how can you be responsible for this mess? Because when you do watch it, it is just a garbled mess, man. I mean, there is no explanation. You're jumping from one scene to another scene, back to a scene to another scene. There's no explanation to this phenomena. There's no explanation really to his visions other than it's an impending doom. It's just when you go back and watch Collision Course and you watch this episode, it is maybe the most untapped potential to really do. I mean, when you're talking about a guy who's being guided by an apocalyptic vision, as true as it may or may not be, it lends itself to some really powerful acting and powerful moments and powerful scenes, which in this case, you had the great potential because James Laurenson, which is the great surprise of this episode for me, the great joy of this episode. If you're familiar with Pink Floyd's The Wall, this is Pink's father. A great British actor in his own right, known for tons of stuff. But to me, this is the first time I've gotten to see him act in something other than being Pink's father in The Wall. And what a powerful, you can just see it's there. I mean, the untapped just wellspring of acting this guy, I'm sure must have had. And so, while the script probably was, I mean, look, what a great opportunity to basically tip a hat to a character that I'm sure, look, I went back, like, I've been trying not to do this, but now I've done it once. I've gone back and revisited an older episode, and not much of anything in year two stands up to the quality of year one. That's just basic. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, you can find a lot of good stuff in year two and stuff to have fun with and even go back and revisit from time to time. But just everything about that episode in comparison to much of what I've seen in year two, much of this episode, Catacombs of the Moon, there's no real comparison. One is a very, very, very special episode, and the other one is left wanting in so many areas. So as quickly as this vision falls upon Patrick, you do have a resolution nothing's explained why really exactly. I think Helena makes a couple remarks towards the end about possibilities, but really, without any explanation of how this thing begins, there's no explanation of how it ends. So as abruptly as this heat wave, as this immense phenomena is just rolling, on a collision course. Now, there are ways to explain this, and there's no explanation at all. When I was stationed in the Army in Fort Hood, Texas, we were under a tornado alert. Now, the tornado was on a direct path for Killeen, the little town I lived in. I lived in a third-story or third-floor apartment complex. I could look straight across and over the horizon of where the base would be. Beyond the base, the clouds were dark and everything. And this tornado apparently was on a direct path for where we were living. Now, tornadoes are very, very, very... what is it? The word I was going to... You can't depend necessarily on a direct line of path. As quick as they begin, they can just divert and go some other direction. And this is what this one did. You don't even have that kind of explanation. I mean, nothing is really said about this much at all. And so, it's an episode left wanting. It's an episode of untapped opportunity, I guess, with a phenomenal actor. And I would go on a limb and say perhaps James Laurenson is one of the better standout guest stars of year 2, and he is underutilized to the absolute max. And now you have the problem of filming other episodes simultaneously, and so you got Koenig, who we only see via video screen. He doesn't even come back to the moon. Maya does a transformation, as Muir points out, and she doesn't even turn back into herself. We're deprived of just so much in this episode. All you really have is an opportunity to imagine what could have been. I'll say this. I'll go out on a limb and just say I do not blame Turpeloff at all. I blame Freiberger and a director who relented to Freiberger's intervening in the filming production of this episode. I'll leave it at that. Because I know enough about cinema to know that this happens way too much. And so I would imagine if John Kenneth Muir is right, and this is the worst, it is because of Freiberger's tampering as producer, who's just trying to squeeze out whatever life he can out of this series. And we know with season or year 2, as it comes to an end, that'll be basically it for this. So anyways, just my little rant on this episode. It's definitely worth watching, if not for anything else. James Laurenson's, albeit untapped, his performance. If you've seen The Wall and you've never seen him outside of that, it is a great opportunity to check him out in something. Now, I will say this. I'm going to actually... I've been wondering for a while what I'm going to do after Space 1999, and I'm going to go back to another piece of nostalgia I picked up just the other day at Walmart. I got the complete set of Battlestar Galactica. Of course, this, just brings, feels my memories as a child. And so this will be the next place I go to after we wrap up Space 1999. Now, it is only 1 year. Oh, well, if you don't count 1980, right? But if this is basically one initial season with a 2-hour movie that begins it. So I'm really excited to, spend some time and start to dig into that. But we still got a ways to go here in Space 1999. But if you're a fan of Battlestar Galactica, I'm just letting you know this is where I'm headed. Eventually. We are only moving into episode 37. I think there's 48 altogether. So we do have quite a few. The next one is Seeds. I can't remember. Is it plural? Seed of Destruction. We are officially moving out of disc 3 to disc 4. And so finally, I feel like I'm making some real progress with year 2 now. And so we'll move on and see if we can't find some better ground to stand on. Space 1999, man. Some great nostalgic memories as a kid. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.